I can't follow that. Well, I'll try to speak a bit slower because I'm just not physically capable of following up on that. But what we've seen here is yet another example of using diverse types of attacks against our sovereign nations. As mentioned, any type of narrative in support of protecting our borders would be called crime against humanity, quote unquote, crime against poor immigrants, quote unquote, and the media's narrative would be highly supportive of any movement of migrants into the country. This bans the law as we know it. This bans the rule of law and the fiber of society that we are built upon. By means of background, I teach international criminal law and international asylum law at Washington University. I have been involved in rescuing 1.6 thousand kids from illegal Chinese mines in Africa, and I have rescued and been involved in rescuing US journalists from imprisonment in Africa. So human rights I hold dear to my heart, and I would fight for them every given day. However, this has nothing to do with human rights, nothing. And I'll try to explain it. Let's use a hypothetical and remove ourselves from the broadcasting agencies. Let's assume that all of you just hike a mountain and a vicious storm hits you. It cuts off the channel down to the valley, and you fear for your life. A mile away, there is a cabin, and you want to rescue yourself. And there is a big sign, trespassing will be prosecuted. What do? You won't face criminal charges if you enter this cabin, because your life is threatened and you need to enter the cabin in order to save it. So all developed nations would protect your life over criminal persecution. But let's assume you get into this cabin and you cozy up, and then you see that 1 mile away there is a better cabin with a pool inside. So why wouldn't I just change cabins? It's more comfortable. Because that would be a crime. Asylum law is very simple. Asylum law presupposes that the first next jurisdiction can give protection only in covered cases under 1951 Convention. That's the end of it. If so-called asylum seekers cross any other jurisdiction on their path, they are considered immigrants. They're not anymore considered asylum seekers. That means that our criminal system can be employed to review their cases, with affirmative defense being potentially asylum claim which should be denied. As simple as that. Now, where are we at? We are at a stage where asylum and immigration became synonyms as broadcasted by the media, which is incredibly dangerous. Immigration is a sovereign topic of each and every country. Immigration can be regulated by domestic laws. Immigration cannot be limited by international laws. Asylum is a matter regulated in general by international law. What I would like to break down is the steps that states may consider in order to reclaim sovereignty, both with respect to the manipulative attack coming from the media when it comes to immigration, as well as when it comes to, I would say, frivolous interpretation of 1951 Convention. When it comes to immigration, we have a very straightforward issue. Effectively, if we review both federal law in the United States or EU laws in Europe, or generally national laws across the globe, they provide broader protection than anything else we see on the books in international law. That means that the US Congress or your parliaments can rescind, amend those protections, and prohibit effectively all immigration. What I want to say is that zero immigration is perfectly legal under international law. You want to close off your borders? It is perfectly legal to do so. And anybody who says it differently has not attended a single second of public international law class in law school. When it comes to asylum, 1951 Convention is incredibly strict, and it worked on a principle of defined protected rights. They are limited by definition to persecution in a country which has to rise to the level of actual fear in a person, and that persecution is limited to race or political engagement, for example, or participation in a particular religious group. That's the end of it. What does that mean? Let's assume that we have a so-called Syrian refugee who needs to cross Turkey to come into Greece, then to go onwards into Europe and cause God knows what. That person could claim asylum only in the first next country, period. If it crosses one more border, it's considered illegal immigrant. Criminal persecution would be permitted, period. Have you ever heard that in our media? I assume not. And there is a reason for that, because the warfare is not only fought by weapons, it's called by manipulation. And manipulation is a much better tool, because we cause our allies to default on their own public. Their own public will go against them. Their own public will push for policies that are actually endangering national security. The next question, very simple one, is how come that since, what did we say, 2018, almost all EU countries, including the United Kingdom at the time, and the United States started considering immigration as a national security issue? Because it has become a weapon. But there is a problem to that. It has become a weapon because we permitted it to become a weapon. It is within our sovereign domain to stop immigration. We can stop immigration today. What we need to confront are false narratives. And there is a very terrifying element to this story. People who are on the run are not necessarily terrorists. They were told that they are allowed to enter the United States. They were manipulated themselves. Mothers holding kids in their arms could also be manipulated themselves. So we talk about crime against humanity, but not committed by the United States and European Union countries wanting to revise immigration, but by Russia, China, and Iran, who are financing this mass exodus of people on false pretenses and making what is evidently illegal to be reported as legal. So, in my view, it is the responsibility of the parliaments that you represent to admit what the law says. If we negate the rule of law, we shouldn't be talking about human rights in the first place. And there is no human right to immigration. Thank you.